back, everyone, to Dunk's Movie Corner Pod. Again, if you're new, welcome. If you're not new, welcome back. This is the weekly recap of what I watched in film or shows or anything like that, and my thoughts on those. And as I've said before, and I'm sure you've probably heard this before, but this is more of a companion podcast to the Movie Bros, which is the kind of a actual conversation that I do with my brother, where we watch a movie, talk about the movie, ramble and banter and so on about that movie, and then post it for you fine folk. So if you like more of an actual conversation, not just me rambling about things, check that out. That's on Spotify and on Instagram at @the_movie_bros. If you wanted to find this podcast on Instagram to send a message or kind of see what's coming up or what's happened so far, that's at Dunk's Movie Corner Pod. We're on both accounts. We post about what's coming, what just was posted, etc., etc. I feel like you probably kind of have a rough idea by now. And this is episode, I want to say 17, 18? Where are we at? 16. This is episode 16, week 16 again. I try to roughly do these every week, every 7 days. Sometimes they're long, sometimes it's 4 days or 5, sometimes it's 9. I try to keep it consistent, but life does happen between friends, work, dog, all the other responsibilities of life, so I'm sure you understand. Either way, this is usually short and sweet, just thoughts on the movie and move on to the next. If you want something more in depth, again, look out for the Movie Bros. With that, I started my week with the 2007 movie/long episode of Ben 10: Secret of the Omnitrix. If you are not a early 2000s or late 90s baby, um, this was a kids show that was quite popular. For whatever reason, Netflix suggested it to me. I was like, sure, why not? I'll go down memory lane. So this is a movie, but they put this movie in season 4 for whatever reason. So this is to say, yes, I have watched 4 seasons of Ben 10 from 2005 to 6, I think. There's a lot of the episodes that are not great. There's a few that I'm like, oh man, I really remember this from my childhood. They're pretty fun. I can definitely see as probably a 10 to 12-year-old boy, this was pretty cool because there was literally a 10-year-old boy who discovers this alien watch. Pretty cool stuff. Anyway, I didn't rate it. It felt like a hard, weird thing to rate because it's like a kids show movie. It just seemed like an odd subgenre to itself. But hey, if you ever think oh, maybe I think about these nostalgic TV shows or movies, check them out. They're usually lots of fun. I don't know if I'm gonna go and look up anything else that happened back then, but I had a good time watching it. From there, boy, I went backwards in time to 2002, and I watched something much more serious. Holy shit! It's called City of God. If you're into movies, if you, I don't know, if you're into this kind of stuff, this gets referenced a lot as a really impactful, really good movie. It's been on my watch list for, I don't know, at this point, years. It was never available on streaming. I never just got around to watching it. So I just said, fuck it, I'm going to get it from the public library. And even once I got it from the public library, it has been sitting on my desk for a week and a half, because I'm like, I know this is good. It's going to be a tough watch. It's about street gangs in Rio de Janeiro, and they do not hold anything back. I believe this is the 60s or 70s, something around that. I can't remember if they ever say a date, but that's the time frame. It is very good. I gave it a 4 out of 5. It is a very solid film. I understand why everyone does talk about it. There's editing choices that are I can definitely see that they are revolutionary for the time. Again, this is 2003. Yeah, it's several stories weaving in and out of each other. Yeah, I would say check it out if you can. It is good. There is a reason why people talk about it. Would I rewatch this? I don't think I would rewatch this. Not in it was a bad way, but it's oh, I've seen it. I think I'm good. From there, I rewatched something from the year post 2002. So 2003, I rewatched Matchstick Men. If you've never heard this, this is Ridley Scott, who, again, I feel like I just talked about last week with something else. I can't think of it now. But he did Gladiator. He did one of the Alien movies. He did the Last Duel. That's what I just saw. Uh, he's a very well-known director, but this was kind of a sleeper movie. I feel like not a lot of people talk about it. It's Sam Rockwell, who I think he's great in pretty much everything I've ever seen him in. If you don't know who he is, look him up. He's fantastic. Yeah, it's him and Nic Cage, and their dynamic is great. But Nic Cage this is one of the few ones where I'm like, he knows how to act. Nic Cage plays a like neurotic, with like and like a neurotic con man who might have a daughter that he discovers late in life. It's very good. Like the banter back and forth between him and Sam Rockwell is fantastic, and you can clearly see that this could have been like this almost Ocean's 11-y kind of vibe because they are con men, so there's kind of some heisty stuff. It's again, I think it's definitely slept on. People should check it out. I gave that 3.5 out of 5. I probably could have given it 4 if I'm being perfectly honest, but I something held me back. I don't know. From there, I also went back in time, but this time a little bit newer, 2006. At some point, maybe I'll hit present day. Who knows? And I rewatched Nacho Libre because fuck it, why not? That's just a fun ass movie. It just has lots of charm to it. It was like a passion project for Jack Black, who is A, the main character, and B, he's pretty prominent all over now. Either way, I feel like this has lots of charm. If you've never seen it, it's like 90 minutes. Find the time. It's stupid fun. You could probably watch this with on a younger audience, maybe not like little kid, but younger people would probably find this fun. I don't know, it just has a certain amount of nostalgia for me because this came out around the same time as Napoleon Dynamite. I think it's the same director. They are definitely in the same vein of like just kind of odd, quirky, funny, cute movie. I really don't know how to explain it. The main nun, who has done almost nothing else mainstream. She does a lot of like uh Hispanic just movies that are not anywhere on my radar, but she's super cute. Yeah, just I'm here for that. From there, I jumped almost a decade back in time to 1993, and I gave Nacho Libre 3 out of 5. And when I'm talking about ratings here, folks, if you are new, there is a social media slash just like recording app, whatever you want to call it. Look it up. I would recommend it. It's called Letterboxd. It's how I track my movies, my watch list, my reviews, ratings, all that stuff. It's just kind of a way for me to keep track of what I'm doing. And you can also see other people, their ratings, their reviews. It's kind of like a better, or at least a more interesting way of using IMDb. I feel like everyone knows what IMDb is, online movie database. It's just better versions of that. And Letterboxd's social media crew, they're on Instagram. They do lots of fun content with filmmakers and actors and actresses and all the kinds of people. So if you are interested in movies and film and soundtrack and all that kind of stuff and set design, check them out. That's all I'm going to say is check them out. I digress. After Nacho Libre, I went back in time to 1993 and I rewatched The Fugitive. This is Tommy Lee Jones, Harrison Ford. They're the main. I mean, it's definitely it's mostly about that. Harrison Ford gets framed for murdering his wife. He goes on the run, hence he is the fugitive. Tommy Lee Jones is a U.S. Marshal hunting him down. It's very good. I have not seen this in, I don't know, like 10 plus years. Honestly cannot remember when the last time it was, but yeah, very good. Check it out. It is, I think, 2 hours and like 10 minutes or something like that. I wouldn't say it flies by. It doesn't feel like it drags. It just feels like, oh, this is the correct runtime for something like this. They did a sequel called U.S. Marshals, which obviously doesn't have Harrison Ford because his storyline is done, but Tommy Lee Jones comes back. Robert Downey Jr.'s in that one as a young FBI agent. That's also pretty good. It's definitely not as good as The Fugitive, so check Fugitive out first, and then if you liked it enough, maybe go and see U.S. Marshals. Both of them are available most places. I feel like I can find it. So that was a 4 out of 5. That was a very solid movie. It is well known for a reason, and it's one of the few times I felt that Harrison Ford was acting not like Han Solo or Indiana Jones. I just feel like a lot of his movies, once he became Han Solo, I mean that was 75, 73. I can't remember either way. I feel like a lot of the other things I've seen him in that are Indiana Jones, he plays that kind of character, and this one was a lot more grounded, not so sarcastic, not so charming. This was just like a man on the run trying to prove his innocence, and it was very good. Just a thought. From there, I finally made it to the present day, 2024. Eden and I, just because we had some time and we were curious just how realistically accurate the reviews and general audience thoughts were on this. But we saw the second Joker Folle de Deux. This is the one where, hey, they decided to make it a musical. Because why not? Or maybe because they got Lady Gaga to be Lee Quinn or Harley Quinn, which the naming goes back and forth throughout the movie. It's not coherent. I have lots of thoughts on this. I will probably share some of them here. Hayden and I might do a quick little blurb about it because it's not officially one of the movies we're reviewing. It's just a movie we happen to go see. So I run. I'm not the owner, but I'm the one who actually runs the day-to-day for this like bougie movie theater bar restaurant thing in the local area. And so any movie that we show at any point, we have the ability to just kind of come in on our off time when the place is closed, lock ourselves in. So no randos show up and just watch it at our own pace. So it's a nice little perk. Kane and I locked ourselves in, had the place to ourselves. Paused it when we wanted it, talked through it if we wanted, had our phones out if we wanted to. Either way, so for context, a lot of people thought this was either fantastic, like people came out and was like, this was amazing, or like a lot of people hated this or left early or just didn't like. If you look at reviews and both critics and audience, this is a rough one. That being said, again, I think Hayden and I will probably discuss this at least a little bit, so check out most likely the next episode of the Movie Bros. I will probably have a little blurb about it at the end, but the cinematography was actually really nice. The lighting was nice. I don't want to blame the acting, but I want to blame because again, overall, I would say it was bad. It was not okay. It was pretty bad. It was not as bad as people said. I could see there are several points where like a good movie was trying to come out. There are points where, like, if they either cut this or got rid of like a lot of this comes down to the writing and the editing, which oh boy, the choice to make it a musical I think was a mistake. If you cut out all the musical stuff, this could have been a actually pretty compelling, pretty interesting courtroom drama about Arthur Fleck / Joker's psyche. Because again, the random times and this is again where the editing comes in. There were so many just hard cuts from one scene of like, oh, this is a like grounded, like intense courtroom drama, and then like, oh, and here's a song with like bright colors and dancing. I'm like, it's supposed to be his subconscious, but I think it's the way they edited it. It felt so bizarre. It felt so out of place that every time I couldn't. There wasn't like a rhythm to the movie of like, oh, I'm getting in the rhythm of this courtroom drama. I'm getting invested, but every like couple minutes, to be like, psych, here's another song. And some of the music was really nice because, again, Lady Gaga is an actual like trained singer. She knows what she's doing. She can sing. And some of her songs are that way where I'm like, oh damn, like I would listen to this not even in this movie. Then a lot of it they chose to have her do this like breathy, airy, kind of almost whisper sing, and it's not very good. Joaquin Phoenix, I don't find can sing at all. Brendan Gleeson, side note, I love him. He's great, and then they had him just be this. I felt him to be very flat. He's a prison guard who's like sort of friendly with Joker, sort of not. Uh, the amount of times that they either whistle or play when the Saints go marching in this movie is insane. Like that could be a drinking game. Like every time you hear it play, take a shot or take a drink, you're gonna be blacked out. I don't know. I feel like there were so many points where I was like, "This you have the makings of something." Like, and I know all the rumors of there's tons of rewrites day of when they were shooting where Walking Phoenix maybe had too much creative liberties. Hayden and I were talking about this when we watched it, and we'll probably discuss this again. But I feel like there is one side of the spectrum where the artist has too much creativity and like the freedom of it, or something like this where it just I don't. I mean, obviously the audience and critics agree that this did not work on many levels, and that's why I think sometimes you need to rein, or at least have someone rein the artist in. It's just on the other side where the studio is so heavy-handed. I mean, all this stuff that was happening with DC between Zack Snyder and David Ayer, that whole quote-unquote universe. There's so many movies where you can clearly tell, oh, this was chopped crazy up because of the studio. It has no life left to it. The story doesn't even make sense anymore because there was so much editing. There's got to be somewhere in the middle, and there's obviously lots of movies that do that well. Because I think there's a different relationship between the artist and the studio and the executives, where they understand they're actually, I think, working towards a common goal. And then there's the other side of the spectrum. So I think that's part of what went wrong with this. Again, it's bad. It's not the worst thing I've ever seen. I wasn't like, I have to turn this off. I gave it 2 out of 5, which is not great, but it's not that bad. I feel like if you saw this opening night and you had just seen the first one, because this is very different from the first one, and you're like, oh man, because like a lot of people liked the first one. It was a $1 billion movie. If you liked that, you went into this and you saw what they brought you with this. Yeah, you might be pretty upset. I don't know if I would walk out of a movie theater. I've never done that. I think that's crazy. It's only like 2 hours of your life, dude. B, unless it's like traumatizing you, like physically or like mentally, anything like that. Yeah, sure, walk out. But like, dude, I paid money for this. I'll sit through it. Oh, especially like people who leave right before the end of a movie. I'm like, dude, this is usually where the payoff, the reveal, the culmination of the story. Why would you? It just doesn't make sense to me. Obviously, if it's your own choice, leave if you want to leave. I'm gonna stay. All right, with that ramble, I needed a bit of a palate cleanse, and Hayden and I are supposed to be recording. I believe it's this coming Wednesday, so that's tomorrow. Today is Tuesday. I'll try to post this today. That way, it's not on top of each other. But we're supposed to be watching Comet. This is from 2014. This is A, not very well known. B, it's made by IFC, like the channel, like the cable network channel made this movie. It definitely shows. I freaking love this movie. I would not call it a perfect. I'm not calling it a 5 out of 5. I would probably call it a 4 to 4.5 out of 5. I stumbled upon this literally almost a decade ago. It was on Netflix and then it immediately disappeared. I think I've seen it 2 or 3 times since, just on random streaming services or just online. If you've seen this, you'll know that it's like 500 Days of Summer. But the reason I like this so much is it's not so cut and paste. Like, oh, they're gonna get together, they're gonna break up, they're gonna get back together. Like it's not super linear, and 500 Days of Summer is not linear either. That's why I think I grouped them together. This is Justin Long. You'd recognize him from Dodgeball and lots of other stuff where he just plays kind of a generic guy. And I can never remember her name. It's the main chick from Shameless. I've only seen like 1 or 2 episodes. Either way, they're both great in this. It's just them and their relationship. But and they even say this at the beginning, this is over 6 years. It's over multiple parallel universes. So all this might be happening in one timeline. This might be multiple, where, things work out differently. I think it's just because so much of this mirrors a lot of the things that either has happened in my own life or the choices that I've made or mistakes, whatever you want to call it. Either way, romantically, this is I think that's why I like it so much, because it so hits home. It so hits close to home for me. Like I was emotional rewatching this, and I've seen this many times, and I still get emotional multiple times. Yeah, like teary-eyed. Like I'm like writing notes on my phone because again, this is an episode that Hayden and I are gonna review and talk about. But either way, the camera angles again. I don't want to talk about a ton of this because again, I want to save it for that conversation. But the camera angles I thought were really interesting. I felt like the framing and the camera angles were very reflective of the connection between the characters. Like, if the shot is both of them in the shot, it's both of them close to each other, like in the corner, and the rest of the shot is just the environment. And then when it's them apart, it's them off to the side. So most of the screen is just filled with empty gray space. It just made you feel like, at least personally, it made me feel like when they were together, it was much more impactful that they were together, like they felt together. And then the scenes where it's cutting between back and forth between them when they're apart, it felt like they were so much farther apart because they weren't even in the center of the screen; they were in this corner. Just a thought. Either way, and again, I will talk more about this, much more about this. The lighting, the music, the banter, dude, the banter between Dell and Kimberly. Those are the two main characters. Dell is Justin Long. Kimberly is the gal. There are many points where I was like, oh man, am I Dell? Is this my life? Am I this kind of broken person? Oh my god, am I crying right now? I am actually crying. Great, cool. All right, this is how I'm going to end my evening. Either way, that's a 4 out of 5. It is on Paramount Plus right now. I feel like it does shift from streaming service to streaming service. I would really recommend you watching it if you have any interest, if you haven't seen it yet, or even if you have, watch it again. Who cares? It's just maybe it's a peek into what kind of movies and what kind of like life that I like or have. But yeah, that was episode. What did I see at the top of this? 15, 16. Oh yeah, this is episode 16 of Dunk's Movie Corner Pod. That is roughly what I watched this week. Again, it's not an exact science. There might be more movies, there might be less movies. There might be more shows that I didn't reference. Like, yes, I've been watching 4 seasons of Ben 10 for whatever reason. I've also slowly been working my way through Normal People. Normal People is Paul Mescal and I always forget her name. She's super cute. The chick from Twisters. Something Daisy. She's got like a 3-part name. It's gonna bug me. It's fine. I'll look it up after this and punch myself for not saying it correctly. Either way, it's them. It's their relationship. It's on Hulu. It's very good. I'm watching one episode at a time and adding to my review as I watch the episode. So far, they're just cute. I think I'll watch episode 2 today because it's been about a week. I try to keep it as about. I'm trying to stretch it out so I don't just binge it all in a day. Whereas Ben 10, I'm watching like 4 episodes a day because they're like 15 minutes and there's not a whole lot of actual content to that. So I've been watching those 2 shows, and just like I feel like everyone else, I've been watching The Penguin on HBO Max. I know it's called Max now. It's always going to be HBO Max to me. It feels weird to just call it Max because I have friends named Max. It just seems odd. Either way, I'm watching that, and everyone who's saying it's fantastic, they're right. It's very good. This is the weird, maybe dilemma that I have with it. It's set in the Batman universe, the one with Robert Pattinson that came out a few years ago, which is very good, very grimy, real. The movie was fantastic. I've seen that movie several times. I have so many good things to say. I think it's a perfect movie, maybe. Either way, it's set in that universe, and it's right after the Batman movie ends, and it's about Oswald Cobb, because again, they are trying to keep it real, not Oswald Cobblepot. Either way, it's him rising to power as a gangster in Gotham's underworld. You could just put this on TV as like, just a mob movie or show. Like, it almost holds nothing to being a superhero or Batman related IP. Like, it is technically, again, in that world, but I think it does so well because it almost has nothing to do with that stuff at all. It's just good storytelling. The main chick in it, which is God, it's gonna bug me. She is the main chick from Palm Springs. She's done other things, but that was the first movie that I saw her in that I really liked. She is fantastic. Like she's so good as Sophia Falcone, like one of the mob boss's daughters who framed for a murder, sent to a like insane asylum, got out, working sort of with Oz to like take over the family. She's so good and so attractive. She's such a babe. Either way, I didn't want to miss all the things that I've been watching. Those are the movies, those are the shows. If you liked these movies or shows, if you don't like these movies or shows, if there are other shows or movies that you think I should be watching, tell me. There are comments, there's Instagram. Please rate, review, subscribe, hit the bell notification, tell your friends, tell your lovers, your mistresses, your misters, your dogs, your cats. Share this around. Again, this is something that I do pretty quickly every week because I watch a lot of movies anyway, but it would be cool for perhaps more people to know about this. And if you liked this or want something maybe a little bit more meaty, I would say check out the Movie Bros. This is usually like 15, 20 minutes. And Movie Bros is usually, 45 minutes to an hour at least. That's where it's an actual good conversation. We talk movies, we talk the pros, we talk the cons, we talk the weird random banter. Definitely check that out. With that, I guess that's kind of all I've had. This was actually a longer episode than I thought, and I'm sure I'm probably going to trim a lot of this away. But if you're not new, welcome back. If you are new, thanks for listening, and hang in there till next week.